The Scottish Highlands and the Kingdom of Alba remain stalwart against the forces of hell. Their young, though, often captured by heretic raiding parties and dragged away in chains. Something more foul was afoot than the smoke-filled skies and rain that poured for weeks on end. Messengers of the Seven were present, looking to gain a foothold in England. Welcome back to Trench Crusade, presented by Miniature Game Montage. I'm Jimmy, and today I'm honored to host Nexus Wargaming at The Adventure Begins, my friendly local gaming store. Nexus Wargaming is covering Trench Crusade on his channel and has a very tactical approach to the game. He was an absolute pleasure to play the game with. I'll put a link in the description below for his channel, as well as The Adventure Begins. The Kingdom of Alba, under the Principality of New Antioch, has a lieutenant with a greatsword, automatic rifle, machine armor, and sword. A trench cleric is with him with a polearm, grenades, trench shield, and standard armor. A sniper priest with sniper rifle. Infantry units compose of heavy mechanized infantry with greatsword, trench club, grenades, and machine armor. A combat engineer with bolt-action rifle and satchel charge, and 3 shock troopers with greatswords and grenades. There's also a combat medic and 2 yeomen, of which one is carrying a pistol and bagpipes, in total 900 ducats. I'll be attempting to run the court of the 7-headed serpent again today, and the court has a praetor with mailbranch sword, a regular sword, and the lesser mark of Cain with reinforced armor, a sorcerer with burning inferno and standard armor, a hunter of the left-hand path with bow of Leth, standard armor, and head taker, 2 Hell Knights with Hellblades, and 1 will have an Ophidian rifle. Infantry units comprise of a Pit Locust and a Yoke Fiend with Torture Instrument and a Wretched. Today we'll roll up for attritional battle, in which we'll score victory points for each 100 points destroyed, rounding up. In addition, if the unit is killed on your opponent's deployment half, you'll score an additional victory point. For deployment, we've got Chance Encounter, so half of the warbands will deploy on the board during the first turn, and the rest during the second. With warbands deployed and the hunter infiltrating onto the board, we're ready for turn 1. I hope you enjoy the battle report, and thank you so much for watching. If you would like to see more of these, let me know down in the comments below. And with the first activation going to New Alba, a sniper priest makes his way onto the board and eyes down the hunter of the left-hand path. He is at plus dice with long range and cover, but he still converts the hit. The injury roll is an 11, and the hunter is taken down on the first activation. And just a quick pause in the action on this. I really messed up on this deployment, and my opponent was kind enough to say, hey look, do you want to redo this, because he felt really bad about it, and I said no, I wanted to continue to play on. I want my battle reports to be pure and raw, and when mistakes like this are made, I want them to show. But heck of a shot from the sniper priest. Let's get back to the action. The sniper priest did fail a dash. As the court brings on a Pit Locust, they will dash him forward another 8 inches. A yeoman marches onto the board with his bagpipes, and he will successfully dash forward behind the trenches. Over for the court, the praetor joins the battle on the first turn, moving 8 inches but failing to dash. The trench cleric comes onto the board. He is going to take a risky action to give a blessing to the sniper priest, and that is successful. He then passes a dash to get into some cover. Over for the court, a wretched makes his way onto the board, staying out of line of sight. Heavy mech infantry begins to push up the board for New Alba. A dash is passed at plus dice from the musical instrument, and he continues to move forward. The court of 7 bring in a Yoke Fiend, and he is going to begin torturing the wretched with his torture instrument. He is at plus dice for this attack and lands a hit, really needing that plus dice, and he will put 2 blood markers on the wretched. New Alba brings on a lieutenant, getting plus dice to dash, and that is good. He continues to move forward, getting cover from the trenches. A shock trooper will move on and successfully pass his dash and continue moving forward. And turn 1 concludes with New Alba getting 2 victory points in that opening turn with a fine shot from the sniper rifle of the Sniper Priest, taking down the Hunter of the left-hand path who is ready to attempt to move forward and pick people off in the opening turn. Turn 2 will be passed over to Alba again, as the rest of the units will continue to deploy onto the field. The Trench Cleric will be the first to activate, moving forward and staying within range of the musical instrument, getting that extra dice to pass a dash. He is then going to attempt to give a blessing over to the Mechanized Infantry, and that is good as well. Everything is so far so good for New Alba. As we move over to the court, the Yoke Fiend begins to whip the Wretched. He applies 2 more blood markers to the Wretched, taking him to 4. A Yeoman enters the board but fails to dash as a Hell Knight comes on for the court, and he is going to successfully dash forward another 6 inches. Heavy Mech Infantry lumbers forward, no problem passing his dash outside of bagpipe range, and continues to move forward. The Sorcerer enters the board for the 7, but he needs to pass a dash to get into range for his Burning Inferno and fails. The Yeoman with bagpipes is going to reposition and then successfully dash, getting into cover. Another Hell Knight will enter the board and continue moving forward behind the other. The Sniper Priest is going to move forward and eye down the Sorcerer across the battlefield as he unleashes his sniper rifle. At plus dice, long range and cover, he still converts the hit. The Beast casts Blessing of the Serpent Moon with 2 blood markers from the Wretched, and this 7 becomes a 4 with his standard armor, resulting in 1 blood marker. A maniacal laugh can be heard echoing across the battlefield. The Sniper Priest continues his activation by passing a dash and getting into cover. The court passes on their Wretched activation as a Shock Trooper moves onto the board. He is going to get within range of the musical instrument, which will give him plus dice, but even with this, he fails to dash. Back for the court, the Praetor, anxious to get into combat, begins to fly up the board 8 inches. He will take a dash and fail. Another Shock Trooper moves onto the board, successfully dashing forward and getting into cover. A Hell Knight is going to activate, moving up, and then continuing to move forward, getting into cover. New Alba continues to activate, with Shock Troopers moving forward, and then successfully dashing near that musical instrument, moving forward again. The court will activate their Pit Locust, sending him forward, being mindful of the Heavy Mech Infantry occupying the center of the board. This move gets the attention of a Shock Trooper as he moves forward, takes a shot at the Pit Locust, but he is going to miss at minus dice. He is then going to dash and get into a more advantageous position. The turn stays with New Alba as the Lieutenant moves forward, eyeing down the Pit Locust, who is in cover and at long range. This will be even, and his first shot with his automatic rifle will hit. The first injury roll is a blood marker before he rolls out a second time, landing another hit, and rolling on the injury chart, it is going to be a down result at -2. That's a total of 2 blood markers on the Pit Locust. As he does go down, the Lieutenant will then successfully dash forward, getting into cover. The Combat Medic enters the field next, rolling on the action success chart, needing a 7 or higher. That's good, she will dash forward. And as turn 2 winds down, fire continues to erupt from the New Alba side. We got a Pit Locust that is down in the middle of the board, and a Sorcerer with a blood marker. With turn 3 on the horizon, the court is going to maintain the initiative and elect to go first. And that first activation goes to the Pit Locust with 2 blood markers. It gets to his feet, and just looking to get out of harm's way right now. The Pit Locust flying at half speed, moving to get into cover, and then attempting to dash, which is successful. Over for New Alba, the Lieutenant is going to go first as he continues to push forward, going up the stairs to a vantage point where he can get a clear look of the battlefield. This spot does give him elevation as he looks down at the Hell Knight and opens fire. His first shot is a hit, and the injury roll -2 for infernal armor will send the Hell Knight crashing down. The second shot also results in a hit, and the injury roll is going to apply an additional blood marker with just a minor hit. The lieutenant then dashes away. From across the board, the sorcerer watches this and begins to summon his Burning Inferno. Using a blood marker from the Wretched, he lands a direct hit on the lieutenant, bypassing his armor. The machine armor does treat down as a minor hit, so he'll take a blood marker and then take one additional for fire, resulting in 2. The sorcerer then moves behind the trenches. Up next, we have a yeoman that will move forward and then dash the rest of the way. The Hell Knight that's taken a bit of damage from the lieutenant is going to move and then dash, trying to get on the other side of the trench, getting cover and out of line of sight for what he can. With the next activation, a shock trooper will pass a dash and then look to charge into the Hell Knight, but he fails. Over for the court, a Hell Knight with an Ophidian rifle moves into position and looks to fire at the lieutenant. He easily hits. The machine armor takes the 12 on the injury roll, reducing that to a 9, which is still out of action, but the lieutenant is tough, so he only goes down here. We take a quick check to see if the lieutenant falls, and he does not, needing to get a 6 on that last die. And then we've got the sniper priest looking to move up to higher ground to get a shot across the board. At plus dice, he just lands a hit with the sniper rifle. The injury roll is a 7, -2 for the armor, becomes a minor hit. The Pit Locust dials up to 3 blood markers as the sniper priest dashes away. Up next, the Yoke Fiend continues to beat on the poor Wretched, giving him blood markers, successfully landing a hit and giving him 2 more blood markers. The Shock Trooper will move forward, attempt to dash, and fail, even though the bagpipes are close. With the Court's activation, they pass on their Wretched. The Yeoman with bagpipes activates, he will move forward and then dash, getting into cover. He attempts a shot at the Pit Locust with his pistol, but at minus dice, he misses. Over for the Court, the Praetor dashes forward first, and then announces a charge into one of the Shock Troopers, which is successful. The Court now take the offensive as he swings his mighty Mail Branch sword, landing a hit. The injury roll is just a 5, which results in minor damage, so he swings his other sword offhand. He hits and uses the blood marker to take the Shock Trooper out of action. This will get the Court of 7 on the board, scoring them 2 victory points. Seeing his brother fall, heavy mechanized infantry with the bagpipes close passes a dash, and then he'll attempt to throw a grenade at the Praetor. The grenade hits right on target on 2d6. A 10 is rolled with a lesser mark of Cain, and with his reinforced armor, it is still a down result on the Praetor. The Praetor takes 2 blood markers due to shrapnel, and the mechanized infantry charges into combat. He swings his mighty greatsword and lands a hit, rolling up an 11. He then rolls a minor damage result, resulting in 2 blood markers due to the Praetor being down. He then swings his trench club as an offhand and lands another hit. The blood marker is used to cancel the lesser mark of Cain, and then Bloodbath. He goes out of action, but he is tough. Up next, the Shock Trooper moves forward. He is going to successfully roll plus dice to dash near those bagpipes. He'll then chuck a grenade at the Pit Locust. Luckily for the Pit Locust, that grenade shot is a miss. Up next, Combat Engineer, up on his perch, will take a shot down at the Pit Locust. He will miss, and he is then going to move, getting out of line of sight. The Combat Medic then activates, moves to within dash range of the bagpipes, and that is going to be successful as she moves up towards the Lieutenant. She attempts to use her Medikit and fails at plus dice. The Trench Cleric will then activate. He will do a move. The Cleric will dash and then give a blessing over to the Lieutenant. And the turn concludes with the court getting on the board, taking down a shock trooper and earning 2 victory points. We will continue to see things heat up as we gear up for turn 4. The priority will stay with the court of the 7-headed serpent, and they will elect to go first. And the Praetor is going to get to his feet, swing his large mail branch sword, and he is easily going to land a hit. A blessing is used to put him on straight dice, and he rolls a 7. That's going to result in just a blood marker. He then swings with his offhand. Another hit results in another blood marker on the heavy mechanized infantry. The first activation for Alba goes to the lieutenant as he stands and fires his combat rifle down at the pit locust. The first shot misses, but the second shot will connect. All of the blood markers are used for plus dice to take the pit locust out of action. The lieutenant is then going to dash and use any movement to consolidate towards the bottom of the ruins. Over for the court, a Hell Knight charges into the heavy mech infantry, swinging his Hell Blade. A blood marker is used to put him at minus dice, and he misses. Viewing the ensuing combat below, the combat engineer readies a satchel charge and tosses it down. The roll is low, however, and it hits his mechanized infantry. He hits the mech at plus dice, and then the court spins the 2 blood markers on the mech to try to increase his chance of injury, and he goes out of action. Injury dice are also rolled for the Hell Knight, and that is a 9, and minus his armor, which he always gets, will be a 7. It's a down result. And now we move to the Praetor, where blood markers are being used to negate the Lesser Mark of Cain. He gets an 11, and the Praetor is taken out of action. So the combat engineer with a big move, dropping a satchel charge right into the middle of the mayhem and creating chaos. The engineer then moves down to check the carnage as we flip over to the court, where a Hell Knight is going to launch an attack with his Ophidian rifle. He targets the lieutenant, long range and in cover, landing a hit. The injury, however, only results in a blood marker. A dash attempt from the Hell Knight does fail. Up next, a shock trooper with a greatsword passes a dash looking for combat with the Hell Knight. The shock trooper chucks a grenade before heading into combat, which does miss, and then he charges into combat, landing a hit. He uses the blood marker for additional plus dice, generating a down result and putting 2 more blood markers onto the Hell Knight. Back to the court behind the trenches, the Yoke Fiend continues to torture the Wretched. He hits the Wretched and then rolls for 2 more blood markers. Up next, another shock trooper descends towards the Hell Knight, but fails to dash. The court pass with the Wretched, and the Trench Cleric fails to dash. Up next, the Sorcerer moves to the top and eyes down a blast radius within 3 inches, but fails to summon the Burning Inferno on target. The impact splashes into no man's land, and then he attempts to dash and fails. A Sniper Priest heeds the whispers and fires his sniper rifle down at the Sorcerer, landing a hit. Blessing of the Serpent Moon is used to make it just a blood marker. The Sniper Priest then continues moving forward. Up next, the Combat Medic is going to move down towards the Lieutenant, use her blessing in the Medikit to heal. With 1 blood marker lifted from the Lieutenant, she then dashes away. Up next, a Yeoman activates. He is in bagpipe range, so is going to move and then dash forward again. He then targets the Hell Knight with the Ophidian rifle at minus dice and lands a masterful shot. The injury roll is the opposite, however, and it just applies a blood marker. Activations stay with Alba as another Yeoman moves forward and tucks behind the trench line. And the turn concludes, and we're working with a tighter score than you might think, and we've calculated 7-4 as we get ready for turn 5. The court will have the option on priority. They will take it as the Hell Knight gets to his feet and attempts to get into combat with the shock troopers. The Hell Knight swings his Hellblade at plus dice, landing a hit. Fearing the medic is just going to heal another wound off the lieutenant, he snags the blood marker for blood magic to add to his dice pool, and he takes the shock trooper out of action. The Hell Knight then charges into combat with another shock trooper, although he will not be able to fight him. The shock trooper is ready, however, and swings his blade and lands a hit on the Hell Knight. Using the Hell Knight's blood markers, his infernal armor takes it to a 6, which will be just a blood marker on the Hell Knight. Back on the opposite side of the board, another Hell Knight takes a shot with his Ophidian rifle. Targeting the combat engineer, he lands a hit and then rolls for an out of action. The gap on victory points closes a little more as the combat engineer is taken off the battlefield by an Ophidian rifle shot. The Hell Knight is going to try to tuck back out of line of sight. As the Sniper Priest seeks higher elevation, he is going to use his blessing to attempt to aim, which is successful, and he'll go fishing for crits as he targets the Sorcerer with his sniper rifle. He does easily hit, but the Sorcerer will use Blessing of the Serpent Moon to give him minus dice on his injury roll, and it results in minor damage. And back in the court deployment zone, the Yoke Fiend continuing to beat up on the Wretched, this time applying a single blood marker. The turn swings over to the Lieutenant, who moves forward. He starts his shots with his combat rifle at the Sorcerer, and the first shot is going to miss. The second shot, however, is going to land a hit. He does burn the blood marker, and the result is a down. The Lieutenant will then successfully dash, continuing to move forward. The Sorcerer does get to his feet, and then uses a blood marker from the Wretched to attempt to cast Burning Inferno on the Lieutenant. The spell is successfully cast, directly hitting the Lieutenant, so bypassing his armor, and the result is just a knockdown. Fire splashes, giving 2 blood markers to the Lieutenant. The Sorcerer will then move as we flip back to Alba and a Yeoman who is going to move forward. He fires his bolt-action rifle as elevation cancels out cover, and he lands a hit, and the injury roll is an 11. Using the blood marker, he takes the Hell Knight down. A masterful shot from the Yeoman shows you that even the smallest armament can take down big elites with infernal armor. We move back to the court for their last activation, where the Wretched is just going to pass. The turn winds down with some repositioning by the Alba forces as they look to close in on the final Hell Knight. The court is on the back foot at this point. We will need to see something magical for them to somehow turn this game around. We are in the final turn of the game, turn 6. And there should be a roll for morale here. We did miss that. The court is going to take the priority for turn 6. The Hell Knight swings his Hell Blade into the Shock Trooper, lands a hit, and then he is going to take the Shock Trooper out of action. The Hell Knight then charges into the Trench Cleric to tie him up. Meanwhile, the Lieutenant continues to burst forward, chasing down the Sorcerer. The Yoke Fiend continues to beat on the Wretched, but at this point, the Wretched has had enough. The Trench Cleric repositions around the Hell Knight and begins to strike with his polearm. His strike is pure. He rolls an 11. With Infernal Armor, it is a 9, and he takes the Hell Knight out of action. The Trench Cleric then blesses himself. We go back to the court, where the Sorcerer, in a last-ditch effort, climbs the trench and attempts to drop his Infernal Bomb down on the Lieutenant again. He lands a direct hit at the cost of 1 blood marker, and then uses the last blood marker, but it's just not to be as the Lieutenant stands firm. The creature then fails to dash as the Sniper Priest aims his sniper rifle successfully, goes fishing for crits, easily lands a hit. The beast steals 2 blood markers from the Lieutenant to cast Blessing of the Serpent Moon, which will keep him alive just barely. And with that, our game of Trench Crusade is going to come to a close, with Alba taking the victory today over the court of the 7-headed Serpent. I would really like to say thank you again to Nexus Wargaming for coming over and playing a game of Trench Crusade with me. This was a ton of fun. Again, he was such a good sport. You can tell that he is very tactically minded about the game and his approach. He really knows when to use his plus dice and his blessings and the bagpipes and things like that, and I really learned a lot from playing this game with him. It was such a pleasure to capture and share with you, so again, I really hope you enjoyed it. Supporters Club, your names are on the screen now. Thank you so much for your support. That's by no means necessary. If you've watched the video this far, you've done more than enough to support the channel, so thank you so much. We will see you in the next one. Take care.